Thank you very much, Christoph. Yeah, my name is Christoph, and as Christoph already said, we actually went through another topic, which is more kind of a big hobby of mine. I am a location-independent entrepreneur. For a while, found my personal setup through Estonia, through e-residency, and found like a second home in the e-residency community. So for a short while now, I have the honor to be the founding president of the e-residence organization. And actually, that's a thing how we met a couple of months ago in Berlin at DNX. We both gave workshops. Christoph about his well-known topic, and I did about the e-residency. And standing at the desk at the lunch break, we figured out that my actual business is a topic that might be interesting here as well. So I'm here with my business partner Markus.
Yes, hello. I'm Markus from Leverkusen, and yes, we both are business partner with our company Kinder Privatversichern, and yes, I'm working over 30 years in the German insurance industry, and specialized for the health insurance in Germany. And yes, now you do the lecture here now, because my English isn't not good enough for it, and so Christoph do it.
Yeah, so we both run together a little company based in Germany that specialized in children's health insurance. We all work fully remotely, a little team of 6 people now, so there are the 2 of us and 4 employees who are spread all over Europe, all fully remote and with work time anarchy. And we do something that's quite unique in our industry, to work fully paperless, to work fully remotely, and specialize on a niche within the insurance industry, which is not only health but children's health insurance. And through that, let's say, the children's health insurance is like the master class of health insurance. If you can do that, everything else is kind of easy. And as time changes, our clients more and more ask for international coverage. And also, as it's our own personal needs, I'm signed off from Germany for a couple of years now, and had the demand myself to have a worldwide unlimited coverage. We get we are growing our expertise in that field a lot, and I see the discussions all the time in the community about how can I solve the problem. So we want to introduce a bit how the system of health insurance works, what the different jurisdictions are, what the differences in short-term, long-term insurance are, and for that it's quite helpful that we have this paper here and give some visual introduction of what we are talking about. So at first, if you are a permanent resident somewhere in the European Union, then you are obliged to have a kind of health insurance. In most countries in the European Union, there's a public health insurance that you are a member of if you want it or not. In Germany, we have a kind of unique system of full public health insurance, and also if you meet certain criteria, you can fully opt out and go fully private, but only with health insurance plans that meet certain standards and are regarded by the government as kind of equal, at least equal to the public system. It's very different in every other country, and so when it comes to health insurance, there is no easy answer. It all depends on where you come from and what your plans are, especially when it comes to international coverage. So at first, if you sign off from the country where you grew up, which I guess is whether the case with all of us here, or at least a goal or an option for the future, then you are also not obliged to have a health insurance anymore. And if you have a good setup, maybe with a foundation that has a 7-digit amount of money or value, then you actually don't necessarily have to have a health insurance, because you might be able to cover all potential financial risks through that. If you don't have that big foundation in place yet, you might want to manage that risk with other solutions. And the biggest questions that I'm often asked is, how does it come that if you are self-employed in Germany and are in the public system, you pay the highest rate of like 900 euros a month, or if you have a German private health insurance, you're 30, 35, you pay 600, 700, 800 euros a month, but if you go for international health insurance, you just pay 150. So many people just think, yeah, then I go for the cheaper one. The German one must be so expensive because there's so much profit and inefficiency there. But actually, that's not true. And so I want to explain at first the general function of health insurance costs over the lifetime. So if this is the time span, this is your life, and these are the costs. The costs for health are a bit going like this. So actually, statistical truth is half of your health costs happen in the last 2 years of life. The problem with that is you never know when these 2 years have begun. So the easiest thing when you come to risk calculation is, you see that graph, you want to start a insurance, then you just add some premium on top for risk coverage, for your margin, for your profits, and that would be what you charge every month for the people here. Let's say children after birth, there is a high amount of cost here. They cost this amount for the monthly premium. When you're in this part of your life, you pay that amount of premium, and then when you are here, it gets really, really expensive. That's how international health insurance are calculated. So that means if you are in that case that I've just described, you can have an international health insurance by the well-known companies Cigna, Foyer, whatever they are called, and you pay 150 euros a month. That makes a lot of sense depending on your plans. If you are now just discovering the world until here and already know, then I go back to some social system, I go back into public health insurance, then it makes a lot of sense to save a lot of money here. But if you have a long-term plan, if you want to keep the self-determination for the rest of your life, to get a treatment wherever you are, whichever age you have, then you should think about a more sustainable situation, a more sustainable solution. So the big difference to explain that, why the German health insurance at this point of time doesn't cost this, but this, is super easy. Because it all the time costs this. So the money that in the end is needed here, okay, maybe it's a bit lower, but you get the idea, is already paid in here. So the German health insurance, the German private health insurance, need to do three things that international health insurance don't need to do. The first one is they need to calculate the risk over your whole lifespan and divide that full amount of money by the number of months that you will probably live, and that means your monthly premium here will be the same for the rest of your life, plus health insurance inflation, health cost inflation. The only thing how it may decrease is by general cost inflation in the system, but never ever just by your own age. But if you are in an international health insurance, you always pay the price of your current age group. That means it's cheap when you're here, it's a bit more expensive when you're here, a little bit more expensive when you're here. But if you're growing into this age group and you don't have the fortune aside, then you might run into problems. And that's the reason why you should start with a long-term plan, or at least thinking about what your solution, how you want to handle, how you want to manage the risk for the foreseeable time would look like. There are several options out there, and people discuss like, I can go back into a public system at any time, which is in some cases true. But if you see this kind of calculation in private systems, public calculations, they more work like this. So they're totally unreliable. They are influenced by politicians. They get more restrictive. It might work at the moment that you can settle down in Cyprus, for example, pay yourself with your Cypriot company your minimum wage, and you get easy access into the public system in Cyprus, which is not by far not the best in Europe, but at least it is one. But you can be sure that in future these systems will get more and more restrictive, with more people becoming location independent, with more people going abroad, but having the risk calculation, yeah, one time things don't go well anymore, I just go back into the social system in Germany. I would not rely on the same rules being in place then in 10 years or 15 years, because you will most probably not be not the only one who comes back with health problems and wants to go back into the public safety net. That would be my general explanation in the beginning. And I would prefer, because it's like the nature of this topic, and I see many questions in faces, especially in yours. We learned about facial expressions earlier today, and you have many questions. If we could do this a bit more interactive and use the rest of the time to talk through some specific cases. So I would be happy to try and help to answer your questions if you just give me a small hint of what your current status is, what you think of the future could look like, and how a solution that maybe leverages all these kind of possible options you have out there in the world brings them together. And you already look like you want to ask questions, right? No? Okay. Yeah?
I'm 52. I'm leaving Austria at the end of December, and I'm perfectly sure that I will not come back. So there would be a possibility or a thing to think about a long-term insurance thing, and how is it for an older guy?
Yeah, sure, maybe I should have used different colors that you can still see what this would look like. But of course, the older you get into a system that calculates the prospective rest of your life, as your calculated rest of life, sad but true, and not a surprise for you, is a longer time span, the premiums are higher, and it all also depends on your current health situation. So with most international health insurance, and I started just with one of the differences, another difference is that they usually exclude pre-existing conditions, like in general. There are other companies, for example, the highly regulated German ones, where you sometimes have a chance to get the pre-existing conditions into your policy, but you pay an extra premium for that. So it all also depends not on your age, but on your health situation. Would you say you're healthy? Yeah. Then so in your case, if you are really interested in a long-term solution, that's the third difference, that cannot be terminated by the insurance company whatever. That's another difference by the highly regulated German public sector, private sector insurance. Then there is a chance for you to get into a German private health insurance. The only condition for that is, given you're healthy, that you have a registered address in Germany, which is, as an EU citizen for you, very easy to get. You just go there for a week for a visit, sign on officially, get the document, go through the application process, and then you can sign off again. But yeah, then we would have a look into the details, because another big difference between the public insurances and the private insurances is how friendly they are towards international coverage. So as you might have learned, your European public system covers you at first in your home country, at second to a certain extent within the European Union, at least for emergency treatments, not for like regular checkups or things like that. And there is a certain number of private companies who sees a competitive advantage in giving you unlimited worldwide coverage. with conditions, without conditions. So that would be part of the. There is no easy answer, but for sure in the end there will be any. Yeah, please.
Can you recommend the German private insurance as a long-term option if you basically want to stay independent of the country?
This is an answer that is also not easy with black and white to a question that's not easy with black and white to answer. It all depends on the general conditions. But if you are looking for a long-term solution that doesn't let you down by ending your contract because of anything or by raising the premiums, then actually the German private health insurance companies are the only one in the world that can actually give a solution to you. The reason for that is pretty easy. On an international market, in the competition between private health insurances, it's not a competitive advantage if you have higher premiums because you calculate for the rest of your life. As every other companies in the world don't have to do that, they don't do it. In Germany, actually, as much as we hate regulation, that we have the situation here is regulation. They have to do, they have to offer something like that. And actually, if you are interested in a very stable long-term solution with companies that have survived two world wars, big recessions, so the big companies in this market are existing all, not all, but most of them for more than 100 years, it's quite probable that you will have a solution that serves for the rest of your life.
Well, what about other European countries? What about Switzerland? Is there no comparison to that, like as in a long-term, non-terminatable?
Actually, yeah, I couldn't believe that in the beginning as well when I started investigating this, and because I didn't trust myself with my own researches, I did some inquiries to other international health insurance brokers and asked them, just gave them the requirement, hey, could you provide me something from wherever in the world that can be terminated, that calculates the monthly premiums for my whole lifespan. I sent that to Australian, to Hong Kong-based brokers, and they all told me, no, it doesn't exist. And actually, the German solutions also don't exist for people outside of Germany. So the condition is, at least at that one date in time, when the contract starts, you have to have a registered address in Germany, which is, as I said, for European citizens quite easy to get, and especially for people who come from Spain or Italy, even a good idea anyway when they want to sign off from their country, because their country doesn't let them out without proving that they're now registered in another country. And so this double jump through Germany makes a lot of sense in the planning and the beginning of your international setup.
Insurance keeps on going in Germany, right?
The insurance keeps on going. So my personal situation, I started, fortunately, I went with a private health insurance company back in 2003. That is one of the rare ones that are very friendly for worldwide coverage. This one is called Armenia. Others who are good with that is Hansi Merkur, for example, or Deutscher Ring. They have the best possible, or for a high price, but the best possible solution with zero deductible and unlimited worldwide coverage whatsoever. And just to give you some numbers, as I started quite early in 2003, currently I have a coverage with 1,440 euros of annual deductible, and I pay a monthly premium of 350 euros. But that's because I started somewhere here. If I would do the same as of today, I would at least pay 100 to 200 euros more per month. There was a question here.
No, it's done already.
Answered, yeah.
Hi. I'm registered in Malta, for example, and I'm 30 years now and I have the Crohn disease. I'm still working in Germany, paying my taxes, and I am in the public health system there. Do you think this is the best solution for me, or are there some better public health systems in Europe where I can get a very good treatment? Like, for example, my treatment costs like 6,000 euros a month.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Actually, this limits you very much in your, I mean, I guess you're quite aware of that. This limits you very much in future location changes through the world. You're pretty much limited to the European Union now. And actually, I would say that the German public system has its problems, but compared to what I've seen so far in the European Union, you could still get.
What about the Swedish one or the Norwegian one? The Scandinavian systems? What about these?
Actually, I'm not quite sure how easy it is to get into those. I need to investigate that. I can answer you the question too. Yeah, I guess it depends on a salary. If you receive a salary from that country, then usually you have some kind of an access into these systems. That's like unified in the European Union, like everywhere.
Yeah, but for Malta it's like you have to pay as much as you can on your own, and then you pay the rest. So even if I earn like 5,000 euros a month, they would. I would have to pay 4,000 euros for my medicine, and the other 2,000 euros would be paid by the insurance. That's quite expensive.
Yeah, so if I get it right, you're currently still in the German public system, and they covered, yeah. But I didn't stage this, but that's actually sad but true, but a great example for thinking about a long-term solution that's self-determined as soon as you can, and as soon as when you're still healthy and don't have the pre-existing conditions. Because once you're somewhere here and you have a chronic disease, this limits your freedom a lot, because you cannot move to Thailand for more than half a year, because you will have issues with getting a travel insurance and things, or even a permanent insurance. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
If I wanted to actually model my total health costs until the age of whatever my life expectancy is, to basically do the math of what if I did not have health insurance, how would I do that without, spending 10 years?
Actually, that's pretty much like gambling. Of course, you can have a super healthy life, and then when you are 80 in your calculated prospective life expectancy, be hit by a truck or by a thunder without any health cost up to that point at all. But also, you can get Crohn's disease with age of 20 and pay 6,000 euros a month from there. You cannot calculate that. There is no model on an individual basis. That's the sense and the idea behind an insurance. Gather risks into a big pool, and actually insurance is pretty much on a calculatory and regulatory base the same like gambling, because on the one side you pay money for a very unlikely positive outcome that you win the lottery, and on the other side you pay a little amount of money to avoid the negative outcome of big costs. That's the idea of insurance.
Thanks. So what's about building the German system for yourself with an international insurance? So I could pay the gap into a savings plan, so for invest myself, to have compensation in the late stage.
Sure. If you are willing to take, or you are fully aware and manage the risk of this run-up in premiums here, you can take your steps of precautions yourself with your Liechtenstein Foundation or all other kind of savings and income for the future. But you need to be aware of an additional risk, which is in a situation where you're not healthy anymore, where you have maybe a long-term chronic disease that puts you out of control of your wealth management. Then you need someone else to rely on. That could be someone who manages your foundation for you, if you have a setup that makes that possible. But also it's kind of a bet on how your wealth will develop in future. Sure. This is, as I said, there is no easy answer, and it all depends on your personal risk assessment, how risk averse you are, how optimist or pessimist you are. If you are an optimist and say, no problem here, I put the money aside. And if you put that difference aside now, you could possibly, with an intelligent wealth management, have the better outcomes in your investment than the insurance company, who has, by regulation, to invest very, very carefully, which you don't have to. But still, we just had the discussion in preparation for this today. You rarely see people out there who say, okay, this would cost 600 euros, this costs 150, so I take the 450 every month and put them aside.
Yeah, but that would be a conservative approach.
But actually, but in practice people don't do that.
Yeah.
And there is a Smith investment form. There is a Smith investment form too. So if it happens that you are very ill, there is a Smith investment could help you.
Yeah, sure. The question is always self-determination. To which point do you want to decide yourself?
How would I go about building like my own insurance company that offers exactly that insurance product for crazy people like us? How would I do that?
I think the first question is the first step would be to get a market access and give the current players on that market an idea of this market, of this target group, and see if they were interested in opening up more. So the requirement of having a German address is something that's just defined by the companies themselves. That's not coming from legal regulation. So if these companies would see an interesting market and open up their own policies here, that would be a first step. If they don't do that, then it would be interesting to discuss why and to see why their risk assessment went into another direction. But if you have a good point that disproves their decision, then I think that could be a first step. But starting an insurance company from scratch isn't that easy. I think you were first.
What about care insurance? Care insurance, if you think it's not just health. Because it can grow really expensive when you get ill.
Care insurance. Totally different game. Actually, that's the fourth part of the regulated German private health insurance. They have to include a mandatory care insurance package, which the international insurance policies don't have. And on the international market, there are two big things that we can't cover at the moment. One is care, and the other one is like a sick leave compensation. In German, Berufsunfähigkeitsversicherung. So you can get them in Germany, but they only cover you as long as you are in Germany. There are some special solutions if you have an existing one that you can arrange some special agreement with the company, but there is no international coverage that covers this risk of being not able to work for 6 months and need a compensation for the loss of income.
Actually, I have such a plan. There's quite a few that if you have previously lived in Germany and gotten it, then you can keep it forever.
That's what I mean, yeah. If you had it before, then you can have a special agreement with your company. But on the international market, for someone who
never lived.
Yeah, there is at the moment, let's say in a very high end of the market, you can get some coverage from Lloyd's, London, but that's, not a mass market product.
Yeah, I think we keep it to later questions privately to you.
Yeah, sure. Especially if you are a German speaker, I have the even more experienced guy with me, and we're happy to answer all your questions in a personal conversation.
Okay.